On June 9, 1944, 3 days after the largest seaborne invasion in human history had landed on the beaches of Normandy, Adolf Hitler received an urgent message. It told him that Normandy was a feint, that the real invasion was still coming, at Pas de Calais, that he should hold his panzer divisions back, that his source was reliable, that his source had never been wrong. Pause. Hitler believed it. He held back 2 armored divisions that could have driven the Allied forces back into the sea. The man who wrote that letter had never fired a weapon in combat. He had no military training, no intelligence background. He had failed at chicken farming. His name was Juan Pujol García. Pause. And the entire spy network he reported on. Every single agent, every contact, every piece of intelligence he had made up. Pause. Every word of it, from his apartment, using a map of Britain he had bought at a bookshop in Lisbon. Juan Pujol García was born in Barcelona in 1912. He grew up in a Spain that would tear itself apart. By the time he was 24, the Spanish Civil War had arrived at his door. He watched both sides commit atrocities. He fought briefly, under duress for the Republicans, then deserted. Later, under different pressure, he served the nationalists. He believed in neither. What the war gave him was not ideology. It was something more dangerous, a complete, bone-deep hatred of totalitarianism, of fascism, of any system that demanded you stop thinking for yourself. By 1939, Franco had won. Hitler had annexed Austria and Czechoslovakia, and Juan Pujol García, chicken farmer and failed hotel manager, had decided, on his own, with no official backing from anyone, that he was going to help defeat Nazi Germany. Pause. He just hadn't figured out how yet. His first idea was simple: walk into the British embassy in Madrid and offer to spy for them. They turned him down. Pause. He tried again. They turned him down again. British intelligence had no idea who this man was. He had no credentials, no contacts, no proof of anything. He was, as far as they could tell, a nobody with an odd hobby. So he changed his approach. If the British wouldn't recruit him, he would make himself impossible to ignore. He walked into the German embassy instead, and told them he was already a British spy. He wasn't, but now he was a German spy. Pause. Which meant he had access, which meant he had a reason to travel, which meant he could build something. In 1941, Pujol moved to Lisbon. He had no British handler, no real intelligence, no network. What he had was a KLM airline timetable, a general guide to the British Navy, a map of Britain, and a Portuguese book about the English character. Pause. He used them to invent 27 fictional sub-agents spread across Britain, each with a name, a background, a personality, a specific location. He wrote their reports himself. He mailed them to Germany. The Germans paid him. They trusted him completely. They gave him a code name, Alaric. It was MI5 who finally found him, not the other way around. British intelligence analysts had been intercepting German communications. They kept seeing reports about a highly active German spy operating out of Britain. Reports with specific details, references to troop movements, supply routes, agent contacts across the country. The problem was, they couldn't find him. Pause. Because he didn't exist. None of it existed. And the details were just wrong enough, subtly, plausibly wrong, that the British realized the Germans were being fed information by someone who was almost, but not quite, inside Britain. They tracked the source to Lisbon, to a Spaniard with no official status, no training, and no authorization from anyone. Pause. In 1942, they brought him to London. They gave him a new code name, one that suited him better than Alaric. Garbo. Pause. Named for Greta Garbo, because they said he was the greatest actor in the world. Under MI5 control, Pujol's fictional network expanded. His imaginary agents now numbered 27. Each had a file. Each had a cover story. Each had a salary, paid by Germany, that Pujol quietly pocketed on their behalf. One of his agents, A fictional Venezuelan student named Carlos reported on British military installations in Glasgow. Another, a Welsh nationalist, provided intelligence from the docks. A third worked supposedly for the BBC. None of them existed. Pause. Pujol wrote every letter himself. He managed the personalities, the backstories, the inter-agent conflicts. He sent false intelligence that was calibrated precisely, real enough to build trust, wrong enough in the details that mattered to cause no actual harm. The Germans loved him. They awarded him the Iron Cross. Pause. He accepted it on behalf of all 27 people he had invented. By 1943, the Allies were planning the invasion of Europe. They knew that if Hitler committed his full armored force to Normandy, the moment the landings began, the invasion would fail. They needed him to hesitate. They needed him to believe Normandy was a distraction. Operation Fortitude was the answer. A deception campaign on a scale never attempted before. Fake armies, fake radio traffic, fake commanders. The entire fictional buildup of an invasion force pointed at Pas de Calais, 200 miles northeast of the real landing zone. At the center of all of it, Juan Pujol García. Pause. His 27 agents filed reports that built a picture, slowly, methodically, over months, of a massive Allied army massing in southeast England under the command of General George Patton, the first United States Army group. It did not exist. Pause. 340 divisions, fabricated entirely. Pause. Germany believed it because they had always believed Garbo. He had never been wrong. On June 6, 1944, the largest amphibious invasion in history hit the beaches of Normandy. Within hours, German commanders were requesting permission to release the Panzer reserves. The 1st SS Panzer Corps and the 2nd Panzer Division were within striking distance of the beaches. If they moved that night, the Allied foothold was fragile enough that the outcome was genuinely uncertain. Hitler hesitated. He was waiting for Garbo's assessment. 3 days later, the letter arrived. Normandy was the feint. The real invasion was still coming. Hold the panzers. Pause. Hitler ordered his armored divisions to stay in place. They stayed there for 7 weeks. Pause. By the time German command understood what had happened, the Allies had broken out of Normandy. The war in Western Europe had turned. After the war, Juan Pujol García was given the MBE by Britain and the Iron Cross by Germany. He is believed to be the only person in history to have received military honors from both sides of the same conflict. Pause. He faked his own death in Angola in 1949. Some historians believe out of fear of reprisals from former Nazi contacts. He moved to Venezuela. He ran a bookshop. He lived quietly for 30 years. He told almost no one who he was. In 1984, he was finally brought back to Britain. He laid a wreath at the Falklands War Memorial. He met the surviving members of MI5 who had worked with him. He was 81 years old. He died the following year. The 27 agents he had invented were never real. Pause. The men who came home from Normandy were. There is a version of June 6, 1944, where the Panzer divisions reached the beach. Historians have argued about what would have happened next. Whether the landings would have failed outright or merely stalled. Whether the war would have dragged on for another year, 2 years, longer. How many more would have died in those years? How many more would have been murdered? That version didn't happen. It didn't happen in part because a man who failed at chicken farming decided alone, with no authority and no support, that he was going to do something. Pause. He built a fiction so convincing it reached into Hitler's decision-making at the most critical moment in the entire Western War. And he held it there, for years, without breaking, without being caught, without anyone, German or British, fully believing at first that one man could have done this alone. His name was Juan Pujol García. Pause. You had probably never heard of him. Now you have. In our next episode, a woman who watched the trains leaving Warsaw, counted the faces, and built something from the numbers that would outlast the war itself.